Which drop and drag website builder is best for you or in general? There's so many website builders out there, and if you're just starting a business, you probably know you need a website. Where do you make it? I mean, you've got Wix, you've got Squarespace, you've got Showit. There's so many different options, but honestly, the easier ones are the drag and drop template builders. So today we're going over Wix, Squarespace, and Showit. So first, we're gonna start with Wix. So let's start with the basics. When you first are starting a website, you're probably not gonna create it from scratch unless you're really good at design, which is fine. Otherwise, you're gonna create something from a template. And so we'll start with the template section of Wix. From my experience, I have found that Wix has way more templates for free than any other builder out there. But more than Squarespace, more than Showit, more than most other builders out there. I mean, as you can see, there's 69 pages of templates. There are plenty of template options to pick from in multiple categories that you can probably find one that works for you. A lot of the templates are great, some of them not so much, but I would say you will find one that works for your needs. First, you're gonna be met with your homepage. It's very well set up in terms of building your site. Now, it may be a little more intimidating for the newcomer or somebody just starting to build a website for the very first time ever, but once you kind of get the hang of it, which doesn't take that long, it becomes really easy to create your website and not have to worry about figuring out where is what and how to get what and finding Waldo. You basically can find what you need and fix what you need wherever you may need to do that by just a couple of clicks. So if I needed to add, for example, an element to this page, I would go to the add an element, and there's so many options you can pick from social icons, galleries for videos or photos, there's boxes, there's shapes, there's different strips. You've got buttons, there's images, you can use stock images, stock videos, everything like that for free. They also have paid ones you can pay for if you want a better photo or better video. And the cool part is when you add an element, say for example, I wanted to add a button, you can just click and drag it straight to your website wherever you want it. And if you don't want it on a certain section, you can actually just drag it to the other section and it'll automatically go to that section. Next, you've got add a section. This could be a welcome, about, gallery, and you can see all of the options that are available when it comes to creating the website. The next thing, and one of my favorite things about Wix, is that you can access basically everything from where you're at on editing your site. No matter which page you're on in editing for your website, you can literally select whatever page you want to go to it, or edit the SEO settings, or change the background, or page design. There's so many different things you can change about that page you're on, or go to another page without having to jump through hoops or move to different areas of the website. Everything is just here. For example, if I wanted to change the SEO settings on the homepage, I just go to this tab and change my SEO settings. And if I'm done with it, I can just click off and continue editing my site. If I want to change which page I'm on to edit, I can click on this arrow and go to different pages on my site. Or I can even hit pages and menu and go from there to site menu and change, on that page. So there's a couple different ways to get to different places, which could be annoying for some, but I find it easier if you're in a certain area and you need to move. It's a really nice way to get around your website and change things at a fast pace without having to kind of figure out how the whole system works. And then also you can change your site design, which is your color themes, your fonts, and your backgrounds, things like that, like transitions. You can also look at the app market, which is something that's really cool within Wix that I don't see in a lot of other builders. These are actual different apps or widgets, you could call them, within Wix that you can add to your website, whether it's from Wix or a third-party builder. For Wix being a drag and drop template builder, I would say it's a very customizable builder. And I would say it's an easily customizable builder. And lastly, the last few here is you have your business settings where you can create a blog, you can sell services, you can sell products, things like that. And then you can easily access your media library, whether it's your stock photos and images or place things you've actually uploaded yourself. This is a place where you can access all of that. Wix also has an AI feature that'll help you write text or other things within your website. And then lastly, converting your full desktop to a mobile site. This is something a lot of web builders don't do that great. Wix does a pretty good job, as well as another one in this series. You just click on this switch to mobile button up top, and it'll show you your mobile site, which is super easy and nice to use. And then also with Wix, the moving things around and snapping everything is super nice. Things are pretty well snappy around. There's, different points you can create when it comes to centering and all of that. You can also use a button to do that, but if you want to just easily do something to center, it'll show you a line to center everything, and it's pretty easy. All in all, with Wix, I would say it is a pretty simplistic website builder, and they make it really easy and nice to use. They put everything in one place to make it as user-friendly as possible. Let's get into the next thing, which is Squarespace. Squarespace you've probably heard of. You've probably seen it all over every YouTuber's page. They seem to sponsor just about every YouTuber out there. So if you're listening, Squarespace, I'm here. I use Squarespace now for one of my websites. Squarespace is a really easy platform, so that's why I used it for my other website. So just where we started with Wix, let's start with the templates for Squarespace. Squarespace has all of their ads saying they're known for their award-winning templates, and their templates are great. I will say they have a lot less for the availability and options for templates. Maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing, I'm not quite sure. All I can say is that I wish there were more. When I was looking for a template for my website, I had a hard time finding one that worked pretty well for me. I really only narrowed it down to like one option instead of multiple because there just weren't that many that fit the bill for my specific need of a website. However, they do have some really good templates already on here. And depending on what kind of business you're running, most likely photo or video, if you're watching this, I would say, you'll probably find a decent one. There's a lot of wedding websites on here. So Squarespace has a lot of what I just talked about with Wix. I mean, they have AI, they have good SEO. I mean, they have a whole section for SEO settings for each page and how to utilize them. They have good alt text availability to just easily click on an image and add alt text for SEO and a bunch of other settings. You can have a storefront, whether it's for services or products. You can have a blog post. There's a bunch of options you have for Squarespace. They're pretty well known for blogs and other storefronts and things like that when you hear about them, because they make it really, really, really easy to have things like that. And I would agree, if you're trying to have a storefront or sell stuff or anything like that, they make it really easy to have this. And I'm not saying one's easier than the other from Wix to Squarespace, but it's a very intuitive and nice, website or web builder to use for something like that. And then just like Wix, I don't know if I mentioned, but there is an analytics section and other things that you can utilize to see how many people are coming to your site, how many people are bouncing from your site, and things like that that make it really nice and easy to monitor your site to see what you're doing, how you can fix it, and what you need to fix, what pages aren't working, and things like that. Also, when you're using Squarespace, I found it very easy to move things around and create stuff. So for example, when you're in here editing a site, if you start to move something, you'll notice all these square boxes, and that's kind of your area that you can move stuff in. And I find it really nice to have because you can center things and put things really nicely in your website and organize it in a way that makes a lot of sense and looks really good. But it is a really intuitive web builder to use. If you're moving stuff around, adding photos, adding videos, adding sections, it's a really nice builder to use. So if I wanted to add a block, just like in Wix, adding, a block, there's a lot of options to pick from text to videos. There's animated things you can add, there's shapes, there's social links. There's a lot of really cool things and integrations that you can add when it comes to, adding stuff to your Squarespace website. So it is really cool, and it's very nice to use for this aspect. I will say the one thing they don't have that Wix does is the marketplace, where Wix had that full-on marketplace for different apps and widgets you can add to your website. Squarespace doesn't have that. I'm assuming it's for simplicity and to not make it as hard as possible, or maybe just easier to run a website that way so you don't have to keep up to date with third-party things. And then if you wanted to add a section, just like in Wix, you have plenty of options to pick from when adding a section, and there's a bunch of already pre-made sections, which is really nice. I found that the section ability, or the templates that are available to you via the Squarespace sections, is really nice. They have quite a lot of selections to pick from when it comes to picking a thing that you're looking for, and they have a lot of categories to pick from, and it's really nice to use. And then you can also add your videos and photos to a media library, or pick from stock photos or stock videos if you really wanted to have a different video. They have premium images, which cost money, or you can do the free images and you can search for different things. I found this has a pretty good library of photos to pick from to put on your website, and it's a super nice way to get photos you may not have yet, or to fill a spot that you don't have a photo for. It's super nice. And then as far as mobile goes, it does a really good job at converting to mobile, especially if you already have a template in place. Changing things around doesn't really alter it too much, and I found it to be a really intuitive and nice way to kind of move things and have your mobile site optimized already. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that I personally encountered when I was creating my Squarespace website that I found kind of annoying, that, it could be a good thing for some people and other people it may be annoying as well. Number one is some things that are pre-made just can't go smaller than they are. I try to make this smaller and I can't, and I wish it just got like one box smaller. You'll notice these squares, that's the squares we talked about earlier, that is the size, in how to snap things. Those are kind of like the minimal spacing you can move stuff to make it bigger. Whereas if you go on any other web builder platform, you can make things smaller or bigger via pixels and not just by their default how big they should be. I'm assuming you could do custom CSS or code to create something the exact size you want it to be, but as far as Squarespace goes, it's either 1 square or 2 squares. There's no 1.5 squares, so it has to be an exact size for Squarespace, which probably makes it easier for people who are newer and don't know how to create a website to make sure everything is the right size or the same size and things like that. But it can also be kind of frustrating when you have something you want to be a very specific size, but it has to be either smaller or bigger because of their snapping platform and how that works. There could be a way to turn this off. I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments below, but I found it a little frustrating. Everything else is not really related to building your physical website, but using it. It's the user interface of Squarespace that I'm not a huge fan of. It's kind of like an Apple phone. You're gonna hate on me for this, but it takes multiple steps to get to an easily accessible thing. Like in your iPhone, it takes 3 to 4 clicks or swipes to get to your settings app, unless it's on your home screen and that's what you open to. Whereas on like Android, there's multiple ways to get the settings and it only takes 1 or 2 clicks. I feel like on Squarespace, I'm having to go back to different pages, forward to different pages, or like flying around different portions of their website to access different portions of my website. For example, if I'm editing my homepage right now, I can't get to any other page of my website without going back to a previous site and then clicking on my other site and then clicking edit. Whereas on Wix, I could click a down arrow and then click on my next page and it takes 2 clicks. This takes not only hitting save, you have to hit exit, which I'm not gonna save, and then you hit your about section and then you hit your edit. So it takes 3 to 4 clicks for something that should take 1 to 2, and I can't access it from this screen, or at least I don't know how. And you're kind of stuck editing that one page until it's finished, and then you have to go back and then you can get to your next page. So it's really just the user interface. The only thing you can really edit from each page is your site settings, which is like your fonts, your colors, animations, things like that. On top of that, you can edit your website stuff, your pages, from this page here. This is where you'll select different pages. You can do your SEO settings of each page from here as well, so you can do them all at once. And things like your website tools, your system pages. But if I needed to do anything else, I have to literally go back to another page, and then I can go under my selling, my marketing, my contacts, analytics, stuff like that. Whereas in other platforms, it's usually accessible via the editing page. But now that I'm here, I can edit the page I'm on, but if I want to edit a different page, I can either click here to go to that page and then click edit, or I have to click on website again, and then I can click on my different pages. I just feel like things are all in different places that should be in one solid place to be able to access, or at least give us like a menu tab to enable advanced mode to allow us to have everything at one screen. I feel like I'm having to go to multiple different screens all over the place just to get my, settings or alter a website or something like that. So although Squarespace is a really solid platform to build on and it's really, really, really user-friendly, it may be a little too user-friendly, especially for someone who knows a little bit about web building. or for someone, you know, who wants to have everything in one place. Maybe you could call us the Android users. I feel like Squarespace is geared towards Apple users. That's what my feeling was when I was editing a website and building a website on Squarespace. But, you know, hate me in the comments, do what you want. That's how I felt when I used Squarespace, but I still liked it. I still use it, and I'm continuing to use my website on Squarespace. So last but not least is Showit. And Showit is a web building platform you may have not heard of before, because I didn't either until I hired a web designer to make my website. And it was a really weird thing to me to hear that, because I hadn't heard of this, but it is a web designer built for more of the creatives, you know, the photographers, things like that. Getting into Showit, I will say the customizability, if that's even a word, is top notch compared to the other two. You have way more ability for customizing your website, doing different things and what have you when you're using Showit. That's probably their selling point, is you can customize the crap out of your whole website. You can do a lot of different things. But it is missing some things that Squarespace and Wix have that might be really nice to have, especially if you're a newer builder and you're not really sure how to build a website. I would definitely not say you should use Showit if you're brand new to web building and have no idea what you're doing, because it will be a little hard to use. But if you do want a really good website and don't want to have to upgrade to a different place later, it could be good to start on Showit, or even just hire a designer that does Showit. So when you first get to Showit, you're met with not really templates. You're just met with your website and it's blank. They do have a template area where you can go and select one. They range from free to thousands of dollars, and it really depends on what you're looking for. I will say Showit has a pretty decent library for free templates. I was actually surprised to see that. However, the paid ones are going to be the absolute money. Like, they are really, really, really solid websites, generally built by third-party people who have their own, you know, companies who create templates. They're usually around $1,200 to $900-ish, in that range, but they're well worth it, because $1,200 is better than spending, you know, $8,000 on a web designer. So it is a really good website builder, and I would recommend using a template if you're going to use Showit, or hiring a designer, of course. But when you get into Showit, you are met with a multitude of things. And the one thing I like about Showit, just like Wix, is that everything is kind of in one spot. You don't have to go to multiple places to change things. Everything is in one place. The cool thing I like about Showit is you can see your mobile and your desktop side by side, or you can just do one or the other. I usually just do one or the other because it's a little bit easier. The layout of Showit is meant to be pretty easily accessible. I mean, it's still pretty user-friendly. You'll be met with this first page for the site, and this is where you can change your site settings. This would be like your favicon, your page name, and things like that. You can change the design settings, which would be your themes and your fonts and everything like that, just like all the other websites. And then they have their media library, which is where all of your photos and videos and other things live. But they don't have a stock video or photo library. On this page, you can go through all of the different pages that you have on your website, as well as your blog posts and your blogs. And then you have different canvases that you can save. A canvas is essentially a section, and you can save that as a site section so that you can use it on any other page on your website without having to remake it. It's like a copy paste almost. It's really nice. And when you make an edit on it, it edits it for every page. I'm sure there's things like that on Squarespace and Wix. If you're on the page you want to be, let's say I'm on my home page, I'll click on page, and then you have different options. I mean, it's laid out in tabs basically from, you know, top to bottom, which is really nice. So at the top, I have my hero section, as well as my menu, of course, and you have everything that is on that section in order from beginning to end. You can rearrange these depending on what you want to be in front and things like that, which is really nice and intuitive. I can literally just click and drag it. Otherwise, you can keep going down and it moves everything down for you to show you the next section. You can add things, change things, things like that. And then you can just keep moving down the list until you're happy with what's on your website and you're good to go. The things that have the hashes are site ones, so that means it's the same on every page that you have it on, and you can edit that in its own little page here. Otherwise, you can click these dots to get to whatever else page you want to get to, which makes it really easy to change from page to page. So if I want to do Meet Us, I'll go to the next page. You notice it just quickly loaded. It was already there and didn't have to do much. And it's the same thing. Super nice and intuitive to use as far as getting around your website, changing things and making alterations. Now, when you're on your website, to make alterations to different things, you have settings on the right for your canvas on each one if you don't click on a specific item in a canvas. So I can change things like the background or animations, transitions, things like that. I can also change the name of it and the type and the height and all of that good stuff for mobile and desktop. It just quickly goes from back and forth. If you do click on something, it gives you options for that specific item, like your image. You can change the image, you can add an SEO title, you can change the size. And I like this setting a lot on Showit, where you can actually change the width of the item. You can make it so that no matter how wide the screen is, it'll take up the whole width, or just the left half of the screen or the right half of the screen, or push itself all the way to the right or all the way to the left. It's kind of cool, and it has really nice snapping mechanisms. So if I had like text, or if I had multiple things I wanted to combine, it gives you options to make them in line in different ways. Or you can make things just center page and, you know, horizontally center and things like that, which is a really nice way to just easily get things where you want them to be. And you can change the size of whatever you want to be literally however big you want. It has pixel rulers on the side and the top, so you know how wide or tall things are. And it's a pretty nice system. I will say I wish they had the ability to add custom rulers, like add your own little mark. You can't really do that, whereas you can on Wix. I don't know about Squarespace, and it is kind of annoying not to have that. If you do need to add things, you can add titles, headings, paragraphs, etc. You can add shapes, videos, galleries, socials, or access your media library just from the bottom. Everything is all in one place and pretty easily accessible. Now, a few things that aren't amazing, the snapping on Showit isn't the most amazing. That's why they do have the alignment tools that you can utilize that work pretty nicely. It doesn't have AI stock images or anything like that built in, which is fine because that's what it's not meant for that. And it does seem to be for more the advanced person of web building. But all in all, I do like Showit the most out of all of these, just for its customizability. You're able to change things however you want, and it works really well that way, especially if you're a more advanced builder. I've learned a lot about Showit after having a couple of websites built from other companies, and it's a pretty nice web builder to use. There are some funky things that make it a little bit harder to use, like different views if you have things that need to change if you click on something, as well as just a few other things that aren't the best. But for the most part, Showit does a good job. Now, the one thing I will say is that Showit is double the cost of Squarespace and Wix. And it doesn't even come with a domain name, whereas the other two usually do. So you do get a little bit more with Showit, but it costs more. But if you are a more beginner person in terms of web building, Squarespace or Wix is going to be your best friend. It's a good place to start. It's a solid place to have your website. And for a drag and drop builder, it does a really good job, all three of them. Showit is less of a drag and drop, but it still is technically a drag and drop builder because it's not like WordPress where it's completely customized and you can, custom code and things like that. But they are all great places to make your website. But if I had to pick over and over again, I would go to Showit just so I don't have to do it later on again, because there's no real easy way to convert Squarespace to Showit or Wix to Showit if you wanted to switch. But if you are going to go above and beyond, just go to WordPress. But all in all, great website builders. Some of them have their perks, some of them have their faults. It just really depends on what you're looking for and how you feel about web building. Hopefully this video helped you a little bit though, and we'll see you on the next one.